Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. So Liverpool have just walloped Napoli by 5-0. I think it's fair to say they were a cut above their Italian opponents today, and I think it's one of those statement wins that has almost become an annual occurrence under Jurgen Klopp in pre-season. You know, when it gets to about a week before the actual season starts and all the players are starting to come back, they're all really hitting their stride, and we start to see what's probably going to be the first team lineup for those first few games of the season. You know, we had it in Klopp's first summer when we beat Barcelona 4-0. We had it, I think, in the second summer when we beat Bayern 3-0. So today was really par for the course in that respect, in that we scored a lot of goals against the top European opponent and kept a clean sheet to boot as well. And yet it really did feel like this is a side that is ready to start the Premier League now. I think if it had started this weekend, Liverpool probably would have done a proper number on West Ham, judging from how they played today. It did also feel like, you know, the team that played in the Champions League towards the latter half of last season as well, and I think part of that was coming up against a top quality opponent that is going to leave a few cracks and spaces open in the back as well, that those high pressing forward players can really exploit. So it's really good to see that Liverpool are sort of almost picking up where they left off at the end of last season. You know, I think if we had one worry, it was maybe that we'd repeat what we did last season, where it did take us a while to get going. You know, the first half of the season was actually pretty mediocre by our standards, and it was only in the second half, once the Champions League knockouts came around, that we really did hit our stride and we really did start to blow teams away, especially on the European stage. So I think it's a hugely positive sign that Liverpool are doing that already, and I think a lot of it is down to the fact that a lot of those first team players, the players that we want to be playing in those games against West Ham, against Palace, against Brighton and Leicester in the first batch of matches in this season, were on show today. I thought Firmino was really, really good. He really hit his stride, considering he's only just come back, 5 days I think it is since he arrived at the training camp in Evian, and he just looks like he's never really been away. I mean, I suppose part of that was probably due to the fact that I think he knew he was only going to be playing 45 minutes. It would have been remiss of Jurgen Klopp to keep him on the pitch for any longer than that. So I think he took a few more risks. He chased down a few balls that maybe he wouldn't have done had he been on for an hour or even 90 minutes or anything like that. But I thought the way he played was really, really good, and it helped to get even more out of Salah and Mane as well, because so far in pre-season, now that we've seen Salah and Mane linking up, we have talked an awful lot about the runs that they make, the movement, the way that they pick each other out, and the fact that they function really, really well as an attacking duo. And I think bringing Firmino to that as well just adds that extra dimension where there's a bit of extra pressing, there's more organisation to the pressing as well, it's less sporadic, it's less sort of 50-50 in terms of whether we'll come away with the ball and whether we'll create a chance. It is more formulaic in that we're expecting to win the ball back and we're expecting to create some sort of high quality chance from it, and I think Firmino's really, really central to that. And hopefully, judging from what we've seen today, like I said, he hit the ground running, he didn't look like he's been away, and hopefully that does mean that he will be available for that first game against West Ham, because like I said, Mane and Salah, they're already fit and firing, they're already ready to go, and if Firmino is ready as well, then Liverpool have got their formidable front three available for those first few games. And Firmino does deserve a goal as well. He gets hard done by the offside call. I think it's fair to say it does come off a Napoli boot when the ball gets played through to him, so technically it shouldn't be offside, but Napoli had some poor offside decisions as well in that first half, so I think we can let that one go, but it is still a smart finish from him as well. I think the first goal in that game, the one that James Milner scores, was really, really emblematic of the way we played that first half. The way that we just absolutely drove at Napoli, and the speed and the intelligence of the link-up play as well. It's Klein who wins the ball back. Again, it's from that high press. It's that ability to get in Napoli's face and win the ball back as quickly as possible and as high up the pitch as possible, crucially to it. And Klein he pings it through to Keita. Keita picks out Sadio Mane. Mane then picks out Milner. And there's no real sort of pause for thought in there. There's no moment where the players have to get their head up. They have to wait for a run, or they have to look and see whether a player's available for them. They always know where their fellow teammates are going to be, when to pick them out, and how to get a goal created. And that's something that's really, really promising, because like I said, it's something that didn't really arrive until the second half of last season, when we started to step up a gear and really look like a team that could dominate on the European and hopefully the domestic stage as well. It feels like Liverpool are going to be in that kind of form from the start of the season, and the first goal really showed that. I thought every player involved in that move did absolutely fantastically to get it going, and I think Keita was really, really useful in terms of how the front three played in that first half as well, because the fact that he presses so well and the fact that he creates so well as well means that it almost gives those front three players a license to start their runs quicker, to start driving towards goal even sooner than they normally would, because they know that they don't actually need to do any of the pressing. They don't need to focus on winning the ball back. They just need to focus on getting into the right positions for when the ball is won back, because they trust Keita. You know, he's maybe a world-class midfielder. It is a little bit soon to say that, but he certainly looks like he's on track to become one of those. You know, the style of the way he plays and the quality of his football, the speed with which he wins the ball back is fantastic. And like I said, it just, the front three players have a trust that he's going to do that and he's going to pick them out afterwards. And it all comes towards this thing of us just being able to counter-attack and counter-press on teams even quicker than we did last season. You know, with Alisson, who I'll come on to later, the way that he distributes so quickly, with the like I said, the link-up play, the way the players are always picking each other out without even any pause for thought, and also having Naby Keita in there as well, who can lead the press from high up and from deep in midfield as well, just means that we are going to get at opponents quicker and we are going to hopefully be an even more formidable attacking force. And I thought Andy Robertson was another good player in that first half. You know, I think the first half in general was just fantastic. You know, every player deserves praise and I'm pretty much going through all of them at the moment, but I thought Andy Robertson was really, really good. You know, it was great to see him now linking up with the kind of players that you'd expect him to be linking up with in the first team. You know, you've got Sadio Mane on the left-hand side with him cutting inside. He's got Firmino in the centre. He's got Salah on the far side. He's got Milner as well, you know, who is now, I think, his best pal, it's fair to say, judging from the content that the club's been putting out over the last few days. But they do seem to have a really good understanding on that left-hand side of the pitch, with Milner in the midfield three and Andy Robertson playing left back. And I think once we've got Trent in there as well, obviously Trent's a little bit further back in his preparations. That was his first game today. I thought he did nicely. You know, he added an extra dimension on that right-hand side, and I still definitely prefer him to Nathaniel Clyne going forward, and I think he is streets ahead of Clyne in the pecking order at the moment. But the way that those fullbacks attack and get crosses in, you know, Robertson was actually crucial to the second goal we scored as well. He plays a really good 1-2 with Milner from the corner. Again, that understanding comes through, and it just wrong foots Napoli a little bit because they're not expecting Liverpool to do that. I think they're either expecting a first-time cross from Milner or a whipped-in ball from Robertson when he gets the ball. They're not expecting it back to Milner, and there's just this really strong understanding between all the players that feels like it's gone up a level from last season, and it really feels like Jurgen Klopp has got the players working together and creating a proper understanding and intelligence in the link-up play between them that should make us a really good team this season. So obviously one of the big stories of that game was that Alisson was making his Liverpool debut, and I think all things considered, he had a really, really strong debut today. Obviously, look, he's going to come under more pressure at times. That is not, by any stretch of the imagination, going to be his most difficult game in a Liverpool shirt. But you can only judge what you've seen so far. And I think what we saw today was incredibly encouraging. You know, I think he always looked confident. He always looked calm. He never looked flustered at any point. And I think that's really important because it's something that's been said about Alisson in the past that, you know, whenever he is under pressure on the ball, whenever he's being closed down by a defender, you're never worried he's going to do something stupid. You're always confident that he's going to do the right thing. And I thought, you know, we'll see whether that works with Liverpool, because we know what some of the fans can be like in the ground, especially in the main stand and the Kenny Dalglish stand. They get very nervous about sweeper keepers, I think it's fair to say. So, you know, there was a little bit of apprehension over when that would be the case at Liverpool, but I just think there's almost an aura around him that he exudes calmness, he exudes confidence, and he puts everyone else at ease. And I think it's also, a lot of it is to do with the way he communicates with his defenders as well. We know that he's more of a talker than a shouter. He's not going to scream in his players' ears. He's just going to quietly, well, not quietly because it's a loud stadium, but he's going to calmly tell them what he wants them to do, where he wants them to be and stuff like that. And I think that effect, you know, it spreads around the team. It's something we had with Van Dijk as well, you know, a calming, strong, confident influence at centre-back. And I think Alisson will probably have a similar effect on the defence as well, which will only make them even better. I think in terms of stuff he actually had to do, he does make a good save, you know, where he tries to catch it, but he can't quite hold it, but he does well to then sort of change his mind in mid-air essentially and tip it around the post. He makes another good catch from the corner as well, and I think that was something that he really did well throughout the game. He did the basics incredibly well, and obviously, you know, that's not something that you should be lauding praise on. It's certainly not the kind of thing that world-class goalies like Oblak and Neuer and De Gea get praised for. They get praised for, you know, the Hollywood moments. But I think given the goalies Liverpool have had in the past, the bar has been lowered a little bit, I think it's fair to say, with the struggles that we've had in that position. So to have someone who does, like I said, the basics so well, it just puts everyone at ease. And like I said, it sends that calmness signal out to all the defenders that they've got someone in goal that they can trust on things like set pieces, just catching the ball throwing it out, making the textbook saves that you expect them to make, and that is all a very good thing. And then one thing that we did actually get to have a proper look at today was his distribution. You know, this is one of the things that we've been really excited to see as well. Alisson is not just a shot stopper, he is a goalkeeper who can play with his feet. He is a bit like Ederson in that regard, and I think he was really, really impressive with that today. You know, I think when pundits talk about goalies that are good with their feet and that play out from the back, I think they're sometimes a little bit quick to put goalies that just, you know, play short passes to centre-backs in that category. You know, it's not just about not punting it hopelessly upfield. It is also about being able to pick players out at distance. And I thought Alisson's long passing today was really, really impressive. You know, there's a moment 5 minutes in where he already makes his mark on the game. I think it's around 5 minutes in where he just punts it forward, probably about 70, maybe even 80 yards forward to Mohamed Salah and just sets him on his way. And those are the kind of balls that, as I said earlier on in the video, are going to be so crucial if we want to score more counter-attacking goals this season. So, you know, it's not just the short passes, it's not just the composure on the ball, but his ability to pick players out from distance with pretty much pinpoint accuracy is something that could do Liverpool a huge amount of favours in terms of attacking as well as defending this season. And I think also a lot of praise does have to go to the defence in front of him. You know, when we think of Alisson, we're thinking hopefully that in most of the games that he plays, he's only really going to have to make maybe a couple of wonder saves and that'll be it. He's hopefully not going to be, you know, busy regularly in any sort of games we play this season because we aren't the kind of side that likes to be under the cosh. And I think the defence did help him out quite a lot today. You know, Andy Robertson, mentioned him earlier, had a great game going forward, but also when we were under pressure and Napoli got the ball into the box, he made a couple of really, really good tackles that stopped them getting shots on goal. And I think that's something that will really help Alisson as well. And hopefully, you know, if we want him to win anything like the Golden Glove, we need the defence to be just as good as the goalkeeper. And that was something that, like I said, there'll be sterner tests, but Napoli weren't just playing their B team today. They played some good players out on the pitch there, and Liverpool's defence dealt with them really, really well. So next up, the second half was a little bit more bitty. You know, there were various changes at various points in the second half. You know, a lot of players are starting to get closer to an hour or even 90 minutes in the side, but there were still quite a lot of substitutions here and there. So what you got was, you know, players would play multiple positions. Sometimes they'd be in midfield, then they'd be moved up to the attack and vice versa. So it was a little bit more difficult to kind of gauge the overall team play like we could in the first half. You know, we didn't quite click in the way that we pressed up against Napoli in those opening exchanges of the game. But I thought in terms of individual performances, there was still some absolute standout players in that second half. And one that really, really impressed me once again was Xherdan Shaqiri. He pretty much picked off where he left off after the perfect, well, not perfect, but superb Manchester United performance. You know, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Played in numerous roles as well. You know, when he starts the game, when he comes on right at the start of the second half, he's pretty much playing in a false nine position. You know, he does drop wide at various points. It's good to see that he has that in his locker as well. And then as the half goes on, we bring on a few more attackers and he actually drops into probably a midfield 3 role pretty much. You know, you could maybe argue it's a number 10 in a 4-2-3-1, but with the amount of times that he did drop deep to help out the midfield as well and operate in that engine room, to me suggested that he was essentially just the most advanced member of the midfield 3, and I thought he did that really, really well as well. And I think that's something that will do Xherdan Shaqiri a huge amount of favours this season, is that he is incredible. Well, he looks very, very versatile. You know, he's not just penciled into that role that I think we kind of had him put into when he arrived, of thinking, okay, he's the Salah backup, he's the extra right winger who's going to coincide, score those goals with his left boot, and we'll use him in the League Cup and stuff like that. But the fact that we're looking at him now and saying, you know, he can play across the front 3 and in midfield as well, you know, these are the kind of things that we were expecting to see from Nabil Fekir. And I'm not for a second saying that Shaqiri is as good as Nabil Fekir. I'm not necessarily saying that we shouldn't still be going in for someone like Nabil Fekir, but in terms of the amount of game time he's going to get this season, and in terms of using him as an impact sub as well, in terms of wanting to bring him on and change the game in various ways, it's incredibly useful that we can utilise him in all sorts of roles. And I think what really impressed me as well was the fact that he does offer something slightly different to our attackers. You know, all of, I'd say, our front 3 players are the kind of players who want to be driving at defenders. You know, they're the kind of players who want to pick up the ball and take on centre-backs and take on full-backs. And I think Shaqiri, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, is someone who does like to make the ball do the work a little bit more. You know, he's an incredibly good passer. Technically, he's a very good footballer, as are all the other members of our front 3. But there are a lot of moments where he picks the ball up and instead of actually trying to go at defenders, he waits for a pass, he picks someone out, and he always seems to prioritise that over maybe trying to take someone on. And I think that's incredibly useful to have because, like I said, it just offers another dimension. It can put defenders on the back foot because if Shaqiri and Salah or Shaqiri and Mane or even Shaqiri and Firmino are like quickly interchanging places, it makes it very difficult for defenders to anticipate what's going to happen because they're always coming up against something something different. So I thought that was really, really fantastic. And I thought in general, Shaqiri, like I said, all over the pitch today, doing a load of work. You know, no sign of the kind of player that had been rumoured to be disgraceful and had a bad attitude and never put in the work at Stoke. He looks completely different to what we've told he was going to be at Liverpool. And so far, he looks really, really good. And if I'm perfectly honest, if he started in the midfield against West Ham, I wouldn't just be fine with it. I'd actually be quite happy because he does look really, really good. And I think another standout player from that second half was Daniel Sturridge. You know, he's really, really growing into that playmaker role. You know, he puts in some fantastic passes in that game. There's the one for Alberto Moreno for the 5th goal, which is a pretty good finish from Alberto Moreno. I think it's fair to say he just absolutely wallops it through the goalie's hands with that one, which is nice to see. But the pass from Daniel Sturridge, where he almost drops into a centre-back position, you know, again, like the ball that Alisson played, it's about 70 yards away, and he just picks Moreno out perfectly. He doesn't even play it so that Moreno has to stretch to get it, or it's not behind Moreno's run or anything like that. It is bang on where Alberto Moreno wants it, and that is absolutely fantastic to see. And like I said, it was almost from a centre-back position, so it really feels like he's open to playing that playmaker role. It seems like he's happy to actually be playing that role on the pitch. And we saw he had another really good pass for Solanke as well. It was another one that was deserving of an assist. Unfortunately, Solanke couldn't convert the chance, which was a bit of a shame. But I really do like Sturridge in that playmaker role. And it just feels like he's almost acknowledged that he's not just a finisher. You know, he's got that deadly streak. He is fantastic in front of goal. But he's a technically fantastic footballer. And we've seen it so far in pre-season. You know, the way that he can touch the ball, the way that he can move it around, he can pick out his teammates, he can move and create space for them as well. It feels like he's really starting to harness those skills now, and he's almost discovered something that he never even realised he had in his game. And also, you know, he's still returning the goals. He plays a really good finish for that 4th one. You know, he gives the goalie the eyes, essentially, tells him he's going one way and then puts the ball the other. And I thought in general, you know, he wasn't just a playmaker. Like I said, that was his main role in the game. But there were still moments where he's getting behind the defence, and that's something that's really important. You know, like I said, it's like Shaqiri. It's someone who's very versatile, and defenders just don't know what to expect from him. You know, they don't know whether he's going to drop deep for a pass or whether he's going to drive at them and try and get in behind to score. And obviously, you know, he doesn't get the goal when he gets behind defenders. It is a counter-attack instead that he gets it from. But it's good to see that he's still got that in his game. And look, we all know that Daniel Sturridge is a fantastic finisher, so he's going to get some goals this season. He's got 5 in 8 games already this pre-season. And again, another player that if he were to start against West Ham, whether it's in Firmino's role or whether it's as a playmaker or even on the wing or anything like that, I'm not just fine with it. I would really, really be happy to see him playing in that game because he has looked absolutely fantastic so far in pre-season. And then finally, Mo Salah as well deserves a mention for his fantastic goal. You know, he was put under pressure a lot by Koulibaly today. I think he was definitely targeted by Koulibaly, who did have a very good game. And there were a few people on Twitter saying that maybe we should put in a cheeky bid for him. You know, he performed very well. He dealt with Mo Salah well. But at the end of the day, Mo Salah, he scores goals, is what he does. And even the best centre-backs can't stop him from doing that. There were a few shouts for a foul. Personally, having watched it back, I don't think there's any foul there. I think that is just strength and the Napoli players losing their balance. And then Mo Salah just bullies he was the ex-Watford goalkeeper, bullies the Napoli goalkeeper by just walloping it into the top corner. And I do wonder, looking at that finish, when we heard about Alisson in pre-season training in the camp in Evian, we were told that because he makes so many really good saves, because he's such a good goalkeeper, that players are starting to try and put their shots even higher and even wider because they know it takes something special to beat him. So I am wondering whether, looking at that finish that Mo Salah plays, whether he's almost become a better finisher because he's coming up against Alisson Becker and because he almost has to put it in that top corner to beat him. It's a really good finish, and like I said, it's just what Mo Salah does, and hopefully he can return another fantastic set of goals this season. So yeah, all things considered, just a really good game. You know, you can't really go wrong with a 5-0 win in pre-season, especially against a side as good as Napoli, and it really does feel like this Liverpool side is now ready to start the Premier League campaign against West Ham. But until then, there is of course the game against Torino, so do stick around on this channel. I'll be doing a post-match video after that, as I always do. If you are new around here, then hit that subscribe button there, hit the like button down there if you enjoyed it. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few weeks, days, months, whatever. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much for watching for the post-Torino video. Bye for now.